And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
We are back again for edition number 110 of the Weighing In podcast. I know it seems like we've done more, but we will. We promise. We will be here forever because the greatest MMA podcast goes nowhere. It stays here for you to learn about what's happening in the complete world of combat sports because we have one of the experts, my man, Josh, the Punk Thompson, and back on the controls, actually doing something for the first time forever. We even have Podcast Dave back. So it's good to have everyone back. Oh, no booing.
Boo!
Yeah.
Boo.
My dad always used to tell me booing. I booed one time when I was in a stadium, and I got smacked across the head fast, right? He looks at me and goes, "You want to boo? Out and do better than him. Other than that, shut up."
Boo! Boo!
There you go.
Hey guys, we're also gonna do we're probably gonna wrap up towards the end of this another Q&A, another fan Q&A. So if you guys like it, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up and the likes button so that shares our video to other people. And if we get to 5,000 likes, we'll continue to do more of these as time goes on. So if you guys can do that for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. So look, Michael Chandler talks about Tony Ferguson. Michael Chandler talks about how he thinks he's a nightmare matchup for Conor McGregor. He talked about how he could try to pull Khabib out of retirement. This is all. This is all. Let me just I'm going to be very direct and upfront. People, none of those guys have any respect for you at all. Like Conor McGregor will never fight you. He will pick the guys he wants to fight. Khabib will never come out of retirement to fight someone who's never fought in the UFC. Okay. Does not care. Doesn't care about you. He won't even speak your name because I just know these situations. It will not happen.
I agree with the second one.
Oh, the Khabib thing?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, nothing.
He means nothing to Khabib. Nothing. It's not like that's not a fight that is even on Khabib's radar.
No.
It's like, you think I'm going to come out of retirement for that? Come on.
No.
Yeah, so.
Even if he destroys Dan Hooker in the first,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't care. Even if he goes on to fight somebody else after that before getting a title shot, which they're going to have.
Even if he fought Conor and beat Conor.
Yeah, he still
doesn't care.
Doesn't care. No, there's no interest at all whatsoever. Okay, so, and then as far as the Conor part, do you think that there's a chance that Conor would take that fight?
Yeah, there would be a chance, but it would have to be more than Chandler just beating Hooker. He would have to beat somebody else, and it'd have to be where it made sense for Conor.
Yeah, but that's my point. How do you make that make sense? To Conor McGregor, how do you make that make sense?
Well, a lot of money on the table is the first part of making it make sense. Because, hey, you want me to fight him? I'll fight him, no problem. Just I want to get compensated, and that's the way that he's done business. And so that would be the number one thing is the number one, how much dinero is going to be going into his pocket. So then on top of that, then it has to be for a title. No, it's like, well, you want me to fight this guy? And supposedly he's won all these titles in this other organization. So, you want me to fight a guy that's a champion because that's the way he would look at it and say it and build it up. And so, well, then it's got to be for a title here, either that Conor already had the title or that it was vacant. And that's the one that they were going to make as a matchup for the title.
Yeah. The way I look at it is he would have to starch Dan Hooker within the first round by a knockout or a nasty ground and pound or something along those lines. And then he's going to probably end up fighting he'd have to probably fight the winner of Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira, because that's what it sounds like the next matchup is going to be. And the winner of that apparently is supposed to fight the winner of Dustin Poirier and Conor for the title, for the I don't think it's vacant, but whatever, for that title. However they're wording it right now, I don't know what they're doing, but they keep changing the wording. But he's going to probably have to get 2 wins before he even gets to a title shot. Even if he starches Dan Hooker, I don't see how that will happen. Of him getting a title shot, knowing that Charles Oliveira just beat Tony Ferguson handily. Okay, and then you've got Gaethje coming off of his loss to Khabib, but he's still ranked number 1. And then you've got Conor, who's ranked ahead of him, and you've also got Dustin, who's ranked ahead of him. So all these guys are ranked ahead of him.
I still think they want the Tony Ferguson fight with him. I think that's the fight that they were looking at for a lot of it. That's what they wanted, and I think that's what they're going to go back to. If Chandler gets a good win against Hooker, then it at least entices Tony to say, all right, he beat a good guy. He beat someone who I have respect for in my weight class. All right. At least it makes more sense to Tony instead of Tony fighting someone coming out of a different organization that he looks at like nobody knows.
But I think, can you pull up the rankings, Dave? I think Tony's ranked below Hooker now.
He might be, but it's all about what they want. And if you take a look, all right, they've announced that, they want to put Oliveira against Gaethje. Well, okay, you can look and say, well, both of Oliveira and Gaethje's last wins are against Tony Ferguson. So both of them get wins against Tony Ferguson. Gaethje goes on and fights Khabib and loses to Khabib. So he's got a loss on his, last fight while Oliveira's got the win. All right. So if Oliveira or Gaethje wins it, we know where they're going.
Yeah.
We know where that fight's, leading to. So then you don't have either one of them as part of the equation, because the loser, they're not going to put Chandler against if he gets a win against Hooker. So then you look at the other side, same thing with Poirier and Conor. They're not going to take that one. Who they're going to fight, and Chandler's not even in the question there. So then take a look at the rankings. Who's the guy?
Yeah, Tony's actually ranked 1 ahead of Dan Hooker, so that does make a little bit of sense. Interesting. He's gonna if he fights him though, then he's gonna have to. You think he'll get a title shot off of that? Because there'll be 2 guys that lose in the other 2 fights.
Yeah, but if he gets a win against both of them, yes, I could see him getting a title.
Even
that's
ahead.
We said he needs 2 wins to get that title fight.
So look, I think Gaethje's going to lose to Charles Oliveira, and I think Dustin's going to lose.
Not a doubt in my mind
to Conor McGregor. So so when you have now that the fight's going to be made is going to be Oliveira versus Conor McGregor for the title. If that's the case, then you're going to have Michael Chandler fight Tony Ferguson, and then there'll still be 2 guys ranked ahead of him. If he was to get a title shot off the Tony Ferguson fight, you'd have Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. So
no, you can't say that Poirier and Gaethje. If Gaethje gets a loss against Oliveira, that's 2 losses in a row. There's no way that he'll be ranked above him.
I don't see how he wouldn't be since
if you had Chandler come in and beat Hooker.
Yep.
And then Chandler comes in and beats Tony.
Yep.
You're going to tell me that Justin with 2 losses in a row is going to be ranked higher.
Yes, I think so, because Tony has 2 losses now. He's still ranked higher than Dan Hooker and still ranked higher than he's still right there with those other guys.
Yeah, but Dan Hooker's coming off of his last fight was a loss to Poirier.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to drop those guys more than I think they're going to keep them ahead of Chandler. They're just to try. And I'm not saying like it's bad.
It all depends on who they want to match him with, because if they want him to be in that fight, where that ranking is going to go.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the difference between having a promotion and control of its rankings. They can switch things up. They can take things away, as we have seen. So, that's when you have true rankings that are across the board, done by independent people. Mm-hmm. All right. They're not going to take those rankings away. When a promotion, I don't care what promotion is, if it's going to work for the promotion, they're going to do it because that's how they make money. So it just makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. What else?
So on that note, and this could just be like a really sloppy job of somebody at the UFC social media department, but there's a thing on Twitter where somebody sent a screenshot where it says, "Don't miss Poirier take on McGregor for the lightweight title," and it's basically this like Twitter like chatbot thing from the UFC official Instagram Twitter account. So that's interesting. I wonder if that will be announced as a title fight this week or something.
See, someone said that it was announced as a title fight, but I heard it wasn't.
Yeah,
so
could just be a mistake.
Yeah, no, I think I thought it was. that person, the winner of that, will fight for the vacant title. But against two, though, they hadn't said anything. It could be against the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira. As I'm hearing that it's going to be against the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira, because those guys are both ranked higher. And then you have Conor and Poirier. They're going to fight the winner of whoever wins that other fight for the vacant title. Who knows? I mean, we won't know, I think, until after, probably right before this fight or right after this fight, who they're going to fight. But as far as Chandler goes, I don't see any reason. I don't think, John, you can convince me that that Conor would take that fight. And I already know that Khabib there's just no way. Doesn't interest him at all. So, yeah, it's just, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. Like, I think like you said, it would have to be for the title, but even then, I don't know. I think with Conor, like, I don't know, man. Like, even if it's for the title, I don't think it's a fight that he just really cares about. Like, he gets motivated for guys, and I don't think he's one of them. Not yet. I mean, he may be if he starches both, Hooker and Tony. Let's say he fights Tony next. He starches both of them in one round. I mean, now you've got a buzz, though, that can be created, for maybe to hype up the Conor thing. I mean, that would be, and like you said, it had to be for the title. And when it is for the title, that obviously garnishes more money, So, and I think by then there'll be fans back in the crowd, which will bring in more money as well.
Yeah.
So it'll make a little easier choice for the UFC.
I think we basically agree. I do not see Khabib ever taking that fight. That's just because he doesn't have that interest, and money doesn't motivate him the same way as other guys. Yeah. And just not the fight for him. Not going to happen.
Well, he's
already
got enough money. He does.
The Conor one I can see happening. If everything worked out, I could see that falling into place.
Got it. Something I want to talk about real quick was Conor McGregor is fighting here coming up against Dustin Poirier.
Damn, are you good? Damn, are you good?
I'm very good. I'm very good. As we know, but there's one thing that we've talked about for the longest time, and I don't think he does get enough credit for it, despite his striking, despite his knockout power, despite all the things. Gilbert Burns even came out and said that his grappling, Conor McGregor's grappling, is very good. And we've talked about this several times, and I've said people underestimate. I even talked about this, I think, on Rogan's show too, saying that he is so good that, like, for him to not take as much damage as most people against Khabib, and then to stop some of the takedowns, even it depends on when the moment of the fight was happening. How he was able to stop those takedowns, like in the third round. If you look at that first initial takedown that Khabib tried to get, he made him work really hard for that position to get to that position. It wasn't until Conor started trying to strike that Khabib was able to advance his position. Had he kept defending, It probably would have been a different situation in that first initial takedown. Now, I'm not saying that Khabib wouldn't have been able to get him down, like later on in the, after losing that takedown, after not getting that takedown, but he showed right away that he knew exactly what he was doing and how good he was on the ground. Even when he finally got taken down, his wrist control, his ability to not take a lot of damage in that first round showed me a lot. His positioning against the fence, I think his grappling it will continue to be underestimated because of how good he is on the feet.
I think it's going to be underestimated based upon performances and where he loses. If you're going to beat Conor, where is it that people have beat him? Well, they beat him not the stand-up. They beat him by getting him to the ground and getting a victory there. You can take a look back at, his first loss. Well, not first loss, but his loss to Nate Diaz in the very first Nate Diaz fight. It wasn't the grappling of Nate. That's not taking anything away from Nate. We all know Nate can roll, and he is a definite black belt. It was the conditioning of Conor. Conor got tired. Yeah. I don't care who you are. When you're tired, you can have all the skill in the world. You're going to lose. Yeah. And so I think the same thing happened in the Khabib fight. He got tired. We've talked, ad nauseum about that first takedown attempt. He was doing things that were high level to stop what was occurring. And it wasn't until, like you said, he decided to start striking that it switched. And Khabib was able to finish that takedown and get him to his back. So we know he's good. He's outstanding as an MMA fighter. His grappling is outstanding. He just doesn't go to it as his way of finishing a fight. He does it with the power, speed, ability to control distance and understand timing that he has. You know, if that's your number one thing, stick with your number one thing. That's what he does. But Gilbert Burns knows, just like everybody else that either rolls with him or has watched him and has any knowledge of what they're looking at. You can watch him and you go, he's good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Even if you have someone who is an anti-grappler, you still have to know the positions, the positions in which the person's going to transition to first. And he seems to know that pretty damn well. He also Conor actually came out and said that he's going to paint a masterpiece. I mean, everyone's kind of expecting him to come out and paint a masterpiece. I'm not willing to go that far because Dustin has gotten a lot better himself, especially in the mindset like we talked about last week, is that he's not going to let Conor get under his skin this time. He's going to fight a more composed fight for this fight against Conor. So I'm expecting it to go a lot longer. I'm not saying that he can't get clipped. I think both guys can be knocked out, at least in a lot of trouble to the point of a submission. I mean, I could see something like that happen. If Dustin was able to rock Conor and Dustin was able to jump on him as far as like an arm and guillotine, like we saw he did against Khabib, somewhere along that line of him getting to that type of position, I think he's got a chance. And we've seen that Conor, sometimes when he does get tired or sometimes in those positions, I wouldn't say he panics, but he doesn't handle them well. You know, he doesn't, in those scenarios with the Nate Diaz fight, he turned, and when he turned, he continued to give him the neck instead of going back to being mounted. That's a position of being fatigued also, but just making the wrong decision in those moments of crisis. Same thing happened with Khabib when he turned and he continued to turn and just let the submission go across the jawline. And I know those things, they're painful and they suck and they can't hurt your jaw, but it was one of those things where you were tired and you made the wrong decision. Instead of trying to turn one way or the other, give up, another position, you decided to stay there, and it cost you the fight. It cost you getting the submission. Will he do that again, like against Dustin? Dustin can jump on that arm and guillotine very fast, or in those guillotine positions fast, especially if you're in trouble. And he will sometimes, and like I said, it's been proven he makes the mistake in the transitions while under pressure. So as much as people I've read a lot of the media's interviews, everyone tends to think, and a lot of fighters have said that they expect to see kind of the same type of fight, maybe it going a little bit longer. I can see that happening, but I also can see I'm giving Dustin a little bit more of a chance this time around, not just by a little bit, but I mean, I'd say another 30%. I would say probably about a 60-40, somewhere in there, 70, I would say 70-65. 35 kind of thing. I mean, I'm saying it's in that mix in there. I want to go 60-40 almost. I would give Dustin more of a 40% chance. In the first fight, I gave him a lot more of a chance, but I didn't take into consideration the mental part of it all in terms of the trash talking, getting under the skin. And like I said, this fight all came about because of the charity, the possible charity, and Conor saying, I'll fight you in the charity and I'll donate to your charity event, da-da-da-da-da. That right there, that kind of thing brought them a little bit closer together in terms of what they're willing to do to get this fight to happen. And there's a mutual respect, I think, for the fact that they are fighting. And so I don't think Dustin's going to take anything he says now personally. Just my opinion.
No, I don't think whether he says it or not, it's not there to irritate Dustin in the same fashion because Dustin's grown from it.
Yeah.
No matter what, you think you can handle certain things and they won't bother you, but they do. And in the end, you go back and you look and you go, yeah, that bothered me. And I made mistakes because of it. And what a good fighter does is he learns from those mistakes and he takes and he alters them, fixes them, and moves on. That's what Dustin did. And that's why he's in the position he is to get another shot at Conor in this, because you look, they're in that lineup. This is one of the toughest for Conor. Yeah. No matter what. When they fought the first time, I go, this is going to tell me everything I need to know about Conor McGregor.
Yeah. This
was the fight because I had watched him, against, Diego Brandao, and I watched him a couple of times in Cage Warriors, and then I watched him, against like Dennis Seaver and stuff. And you're going, he fought Marcus Bremage, and I'm like, no, those guys aren't at that level that I'm looking for. Not that they're not good fighters and not like, Dennis Seaver, tough dude, but they just don't have those elements that is needed to beat the guy that's like Conor. But when they put him against Poirier, I was like, oh yeah, this is the guy that definitely has the skill set. If Conor can beat Dustin Poirier, he's telling me exactly where he's at.
Yeah. And
I really gave, Dustin a lot of, credit in possibly being able to beat him. Obviously I believe like you that the mind game was a big part of that and that Conor used it beautifully. The Conor has always done that I've always been impressed by is usually when he talks about a fighter, he talks about mistakes that they make and he's honest. He's saying an actual thing. He really got away from it with Khabib.
Yeah.
And he started talking about other things. And that was telling me that, you haven't found a whole lot of places where, he's not good. Not that you don't know where he's better here than he is here, but you've seen he's good everywhere. And when you see the way he's talking even now about Poirier, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. And he sees a different fighter, and I think he's preparing for a different fighter, and that's what he's supposed to do.
I agree.
So Mike Perry announces his child's born.
Congratulations to Mike Perry. He had a little boy called Ocean. That's great. Now stop drinking.
Is it alcohol?
I don't know. I think it is because just from what I've been told from certain people of where he's got some issues and stuff, he's got, he's just not, he's a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeves. And then as soon as alcohol becomes part of it, now it starts to get a little out of hand. Look, you got a son. Your whole world just changed. All right. That should be the number one thing for you to make sure that you provide for that little sucker and you don't want anything to happen to him and you have to be there for him. Well, don't do things that could possibly take that ability away. So be smart. Do the right things. Go back to your fighting career. You're fun to watch. Get the right fights. Win. Put some money in the bank. Buy the baby a new pair of shoes, and just be smart from now on, Mike.
Yeah, I think what gets overlooked a lot and needs to be talked about a little bit is the mental health. And I don't want to say it's just the mental health of just fighters in general, just mental health of people in general. And I think right now, during these lockdowns and the COVID situation and things not being open, not being able to see family and friends, it's increasing it tenfold. I'll give you an example, and not to get too political here, but California and San Francisco, they have 137 COVID deaths. Okay, in the city of San Francisco, they have almost 700.
You mean a day?
No, 137 total deaths since this thing started. Yeah, overall. Yeah, 137 total deaths from COVID since February or March from COVID. They have 700 suicides and overdoses since March. So that's actually almost doubled what they normally have in a year. So it just lets you know that people are finding other ways to lash out or finding other ways to keep themselves occupied, and it's a drug thing or it's a mental health issue that's breaking them. And we may be seeing something like this because look, even though he's probably out doing whatever he wants, we've seen him out, getting thrown out of restaurants or clubs or bars or whatever it is. The things are not the same. When you go out, you're not seeing the people you normally see because they're probably not out. And the excitement and the energy is not out as well when you do go out. There's, restaurants are empty, bars are empty. Everything, just when you walk the streets, it looks lonely out there. There's a lot of places. I mean, sure, there's places that are packed and busy, of course, in certain states. But I think that it all plays a factor in just the mental health game. And we're seeing it nationwide, and not just, I'm just giving the San Francisco example because I live nearby and I read the newspaper from there. I lie, I can't read, but these are things that are people should take serious, obviously. But I do have to agree with you that he has a son now, and it's a whole different lifestyle. It's a whole different thing that you need to take on. There's a lot of expectations that child relies on you for. And so I just want to wish him the very best, no matter what he does. I just want to wish him the best. It really just comes down to fight as much as you possibly can, make as much money as you possibly can, you know, and get out while you can. That's the other thing, is just do all those things and make your focus about your son and your, you know, and your fiance, wife, you know, whatever she is. Just make that focus about that. And if you can do that, I think no matter what happens, as long as you have your family and your son, you'll be fine, man. Just focus on those things. Don't focus on anything else but those things.
That's it. Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, you know, okay, I was very young when I had my son, who is now 34 years of age. But, you know, when my son was born, man, and they put him on the little thing and he grabbed a hold of my finger. And at that moment, Josh, I'd have fucking punched a 4-year-old in the mouth if he had fucking hurt my kid. And I'd kill for him at that, boom. And everything changes from that point. And I grew up from that point. I stopped doing a lot of the stupid stuff I was doing, and everything changed for me. And, you know, tell me it wasn't kind of like the same. Tell me your life did not change.
Life changes, I think, just in general for everybody, you know, like nieces, nephews come into your lives and you start to focus on that. And, you know, becoming a godparent, you know, to my brother's kids, that helped change a little bit as well. I think life changes for everyone differently. It's just a matter of, what you value. And if Mike Perry can put his son first and then put his fiance first and then focus on fighting as well, and just focus on those 3 things. Don't make it bigger than it is. There was a story that I had read a long time ago, and when I read that story, there was a little boy who was dying of cancer, and at the very end, you know, he had pulled his mom close and he had told her, he's like, it's really not that. It's really that simple. Life is just that simple. Just don't make it difficult. We clutter our life with so much shit and garbage and all this other stuff that we don't need to. Really just comes down to the immediate people that are in your household that you need to focus on. You know, sure, there's work and you have friends, but just remember, the people that are going to be at your deathbed will be the ones that are probably in your house, you know, every single day. The rest of them may or may not be around. I mean, I have friends that I'm very close with that don't go to other people's funerals that they've known since middle school. They just don't. They're like, no. I'm like, I don't understand. This guy was your friend forever. They're like, yeah, I don't go to funerals. Like, it's just it's, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone is cut the same. And I think that it just says a lot. Like, when I have like I said, very close friends that I know that do that. They don't go to birthday parties. They don't go to other people's birthday parties. They don't go to people's funerals, and they're different people. They're not one. It's not just one person. And so when you talk about that, like, you just need to focus on the people that are immediately connected to you. And that's your wife and your son now, you know, and how can you provide for them? Fighting. That's it. Focus on that. You focus on those 3 things, everything else will fall into place. And so I just want to wish him the very best, man.
Same here.
That, you know,
good
and,
luck.
and
Congratulations.
and enjoy having a little boy. Enjoy it. What else? Cyborg expressed some interest in fighting Kayla Harrison at 155. I mean, Kayla Harrison can make 145.
I was going to
what's
say,
the
hold
point?
on. Hasn't Kayla been fighting at 145 to prove that she can put herself down into that, prove everybody, including myself, wrong as far as I don't know if she can make that and be healthy, but she has. She's done really well with it, and she's got another fight coming in at 45. But even if this one's not and it's at 155, she's proven that, hey, I'll move down to prove that I can take on everyone at these weight classes that are the established. Yeah. Since the lightweight with women is there's just not anybody there. So I don't know why Chris would move anywhere. You're a featherweight king. You're the one that's been, established in that weight division longer than anybody. You're the Bellator champion. You've been the UFC champion. You've been the Invicta champion. You've been the Strikeforce champion. Let her come down to your weight class and do it. I want to see it. I think it'd be a great fight.
I think it was just that she was trying to entice Kayla Harrison to put her title on the line at 155 so she could have another title from another organization. That's really what I got from when I read it. Was like, no, I want to have another one. So that sets her apart from everyone more. Yeah.
So she'd have a PFL championship at lightweight if she beat Kayla.
Yeah. I think that's from what I read, that's what she wanted. She's like, no, I want your title at 155.
Well, that means that she'd have to go over to the PFL
Yeah.
and fight there, and Bellator would have to give her that ability. Not sure they would do that, but if they do it.
Yeah, it would be fun to see though. Like if she went over there to the PFL, fought for that title there. What if? Let's just say, if she lost, then she would say, "Hey, Kayla, you can come to Bellator now and fight me for my 145-pound title." We talk about cross promotion; it's got to work all the way around. I know that Coker's he's open-minded to it, but it's got to work for both sides. And
yeah,
I know,
but it's got to work for both sides. So let's take a look at the flop.
Yeah.
All right. If Chris goes over and beats Kayla at 155, and let's say it's a matter of experience right now. Okay, Kayla's a phenomenal athlete, awesome judo. Her stand-up's gotten much better. Her MMA's gotten much better. She's the real deal, but a lot of experience she's got to get past with Cyborg. So we'll say that she ends up losing that fight. What does that do for the PFL? They just lost. Their lightweight championship is now walking away. It's not a good thing for them.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I do. But those are the chances you take when you do cross promotions. I've always kind of been against the champion versus champion thing, only because it leaves the promotion kind of like high and dry. Look, I'm for it.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them. I'm saying I'm all for it being a mutual thing with their number 3, number 4, number 5 guy, whatever it is, or girl, and putting themselves in those situations so you can see good fights in cross promotions without one promotion being handicapped. And so and we've seen it. We saw it though for titles again with Horiguchi and Darren Caldwell. Yep. And Horiguchi winning his title again back. I do know that there was buzz for a little bit about us doing a 135-pound tournament, and one of whoever the champ was in Ryzen coming back over and fighting in that tournament as well with the new current champion Juan Archuleta. So that would make for a fun tournament as well. If Bellator has options and now you bring in a couple of the Ryzen guys to be part of that tournament, that shows a good cross promotion. As far as with the PFL, it would be weird for the PFL if they lost, and then have to have Kayla cut down to 145 and not be the same physical specimen that she is to turn around and try and fight at 145 against someone she just lost. It would look bad for them, I know, but that's what the problem has always been for me when you have the champions fight champions. Sure, it's great for us, but one promotion is going to be left saying, I wish I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing. Anthony Pettis, can you scroll up? Anthony Pettis. See, Gion's on top of that part of this. You got to keep up, buddy. Come on, you're already behind. I know you're probably on New York, small town stuff, but you got to keep up, okay? Anthony Pettis wants to be a trailblazer for the future of free agency and MMA. All right, buddy. I like you, Pettis, but there was a lot of people before you. Rory McDonald being one. Phil Davis was the very first, I believe, that went over. No, I mean, there was
Phil Davis, Benson Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about him all the time as Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez is someone that just pioneered the free agency. He did it as, almost his whole career.
He's always gone where the money's at.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad you're speaking out about this. I like to see that. I think that more people need to do it. And you only have a certain amount of time to make as much money as you possibly can. And this is a perfect opportunity for not just Pettis, but I think a lot of MMA fighters to realize what's going on. You have to look at the sport as if it's like, let's just say the NBA. The NBA has a bunch of teams. Well, there's a bunch of promotions, okay? And you have options, not as many as there is NBA teams. I understand that. But you have options to go places. And when you have guys like LeBron and other guys that sign 1 year and 2 year deals, it's so that they can maximize their money. And they understand that within a year or two, the money will go up. It just naturally goes up because the promotions have money or they have money put aside in the bank, and there is money to be offered as time goes on. And the ones that don't have more money to offer, then they fall by the side, and then you go somewhere else where there is more money. And as long as you keep winning, they will continue to offer you a lot of money. So go check it out. And I think once the UFC sees that, as well as Bellator and Ryzen and all the other companies in one, as long as they start seeing fighters go, they'll start picking and choosing the fighters that they want to start building their promotions around. And not even so much building their promotions around, but building their weight classes around. So then they can say, hey, you know what? We've got Anthony Pettis now for 6 fights in the PFL. Let's go ahead and let's build around him for these next, at least 5 fights and try to entice him to stay. It becomes, it becomes a free market agency is perfect. A perfect example. It becomes that free market agency that just starts driving the price up. So then promotions can't just skate by paying you guys pennies on the dollar. And like I said, it's been going on Eddie's been doing it forever. Okay. But Phil Davis was the first guy to leave the UFC. I was the second guy to leave the UFC and then go to Bellator and make more money. And then it slowly came. There was more people that came,
No, man. Benson Henderson was ahead of you.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
I was first.
No, I don't think so.
Where'd he go?
We're going to go with a bet.
Where did he go?
He went to Bellator. He was ahead of you.
No.
Yes. He lost to Koreshkov while you were still part of the UFC.
No. I'm the one that talked him into coming. He called me and asked me, hey, should I sign with them? And I said, yeah. I said, I love it here. Yeah. My last fight was Tony Ferguson. He had 2 more fights left on his contract.
Yeah, that was Tony.
What was that bet you want to talk about? What was that? Wait, what was that bet you wanted to talk about?
Hey, we're talking here. Your last fight was, I want to say,
Tony Ferguson.
December in San Diego?
July in San Diego, yeah.
July in San Diego, okay.
Josh, your first fight in Bellator was September 15. Benson's was April 2016.
I was a whole year ahead of him.
Damn. Look at that.
Jeez.
Just go ahead and say it.
Look,
dude, look at how you proved me wrong.
No. You know what's really concerning about this? We're going to lose subscribers because of this. You want to know why? They can realize the steel trap is starting to finally leak and have holes in it. And they're like, dude, they only come here for your...
You should know about your career better than me, man.
Wow. You were asking me to know what Benson's career was, and I knew exactly. No, because we had talked in San Diego at the Tony Ferguson fight before at the weigh-ins. And he was there with cornering somebody. And he's like, I'm going to test out the free market agency after my next fight. And he had a fight coming up or lined up. And I said, I'm pretty much think I'm going to end up in Bellator, knowing that Scott was already there. And I hadn't talked to Scott yet, but I kind of had a good idea. I was like, look, I mean, it just makes sense, and I just knew that the money that the UFC was offering me wasn't the money that I wanted. It was just, I wasn't going to take it. And the offer was still on the table up until the day I left, and so when I talked to Ben was, he's like, I'm just going to test it out. He's going to check out everywhere. But, he did ask me, he's like, what do you know about Bellator? I was like, I just know the Coker's there and I love doing business with Scott. And that was kind of where I left it at, He's like, so when he did fight his last fight, he called me and said, how do you like it there? I was like, I love it. But I already had a relationship with everyone that was there,
Sure.
You have Rich and Kogan and Kerry and, and obviously Coker and a bunch of other people that I had already known for years. So it made it an easy choice for me. I said, look, it's not going to be for everybody. But if it's a perfect group for me. So he ended up coming, as we know. He's still there. What else? Okay, let's what else? Is there anything else you want to go right into fan questions?
Let's do 30 minutes of fans.
Okay, let's do 30 minutes of fan questions.
All right, so this first one I've got is from Clearly Felt a Tap, and he wants to know, was Anderson versus GSP a bigger lost opportunity than Tony versus Khabib?
I don't think it was here's the thing. I think it was a bigger loss opportunity, but it was never presented. That's the problem. Like it wasn't like it happened 5 times.
It was only done in the media.
Yeah. It's not like it was ever
never really went after it.
Yeah, they never really said like, hey, you know what? Let's really get this to happen. And there was a lot more. It was just in the media. It was just fans talking like they would love to see that fight, which everyone understood. But when it came down to it, it was never something the UFC was like, let's make this happen. This was before the Conor pre-money fight thing, and so I don't think that if there was going to be a money fight though, I think that probably would have been the biggest fight up to date, probably until Conor came along. It would have been the biggest pay-per-view that they had ever done.
I think that you go back to that time, you look at what was going on, and everyone had the question of, well, George being so good with his MMA wrestling, could he take Anderson down similar to like Chael had done and things like that? George never wanted to fight Anderson.
Yeah.
He just never wanted to fight him. He looked at it like he's too big.
Yeah.
And if you put them side by side, you'll see there's a big difference between their frames and how big Anderson is compared to George. So George had a legitimate, cause to look and go, I don't think that's where I want to go. And, he had his one fight at 185, and you can take a look at that, what happened with him and Bisping. But, Bisping was, coming on, and Bisping wasn't as long as Anderson. So I think George was right as far as he would have had some difficulty with the length. But, it was a fight that was never even presented. It was never, hey, we're going to do this. And then it fell apart, similar to, Tony and Khabib falling apart 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah, if you take a look at what we would have potentially have seen, and not to knock George at all, because I think he's still probably the greatest of all time, is you would have seen the Vitor Belfort versus Anderson fight, and Vitor just couldn't get in. And Vitor is extremely fast. GSP's fast. He's not that fast though. Vitor's explosive fast, but the wrestling obviously would have favored GSP for sure. And I think the grappling would have definitely favored GSP. He's fucking nasty good on the ground. Everyone I've ever talked to, I mean, just by watching his fights, you can tell he's good on the ground. But everyone I've ever talked to, all of the guys over at Henzo's place and John Danaher's place, he's phenomenal. He's so damn good. Gives everybody there a run for their money, not just a run. And these are guys just straight grapplers and some of the best in the business. And he's just getting after them, and that's just straight grappling. He's really good. So I think he would have been able to potentially beat Anderson, but to do it in a 5-round fight and to get out and to be able to take him down multiple times, just the body frame and size, I don't think it would have been a good fight for him, to be honest. I think here, no one's ever accused GSP of being a dumb fighter. He's not a dumb person, and he knew exactly what he needed to do, and that was to stay away from that division because he was already a star. He didn't need to go up there. He didn't need to create that, and there was no reason to it. See, fighters, when they start winning, they start to let their head and their ego get the better of them. GSP doesn't have that problem at all. He stayed where he was comfortable, and when he finally did go up, he went against somebody that was about his same body frame. Smart, very smart. He's a very smart person, and it shows in everything he's done in his career.
Yep.
So, next
question. MMA UY asks, true or false, we see Yoel versus Rumble in 2021?
Oh yeah, true.
I think you're going to see that. I think it's important that people see that. I think it's a fight that people actually want to see, even no matter where it's at. So if you're Bellator, you got to look and say, and I don't know what they're thinking, but do I let the opportunity pass by? Do I put it on and see what happens, or do I let that opportunity pass by? Well, why are you going to let that opportunity pass by if that's a fight that people want to see? You're in the business of putting on fights that people want to see. That's one that I think people want to see. So I think in the end it'll happen.
So there's a big buzz that I don't know if it was leaked by the Bellator or if it was just people talking about it in the media, just talking about that they're going to do a 205-pound tournament, and which would make sense because you got Yoel, who's 44. You've got Anthony, who's 36.
Isn't he 43? Okay. Dave, look that up. I thought he's 43.
Okay, we're splitting hairs here.
No. Huge difference between 43 and 44.
Okay. At that age, I mean, he's still like 32, his body. Yeah. So at that age, he's 43. Okay, he's 43. Follow, you're back to being right. Okay. So, I mean, it just makes sense for them to do it because the guys are getting a little bit older, in that if they're going to do that tournament, you might as well have them do it as quick and early as possible. Ryan Bader, if he does come back down for the tournament, would make sense. Nemkov is still a baby, but
I wouldn't do that. See, I wouldn't do that.
If
Bader would have to let go of the heavyweight title
with $1 million on the line,
a light heavyweight,
with $1 million on the line, plus your purses. I think there's no doubt he would come back down. No doubt.
I'm not saying he wouldn't want to, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
In that fashion because he's got the opportunity at that. But what I'm saying is, as a promotion, I wouldn't allow my heavyweight champion to hold on to the belt while he enters a light heavyweight tournament.
No, I get what you're saying. I think if the opportunity is there for him to join that tournament, I think he vacates the heavyweight tournament, the heavyweight belt.
And that's what I think should
either happen. That or he fights before then against Nemkov or not Nemkov, Minakov. And if he wins,
it's one of those coughing guys.
if he wins, he stays there, and if he loses, he jumps in the tournament. Gives you options. Get that one big money, get that that fight before you just make your decision. You know, if you lose to Minikoff, then you go do the tournament. If you don't lose to Minikoff, then you know, then you stay there. I would stay there. If you were the champ, just stay there, man. I've always thought that he's fought better at heavyweight because he's one of those, he's that new hybrid heavyweight who's got good wrestling, and heavyweights normally don't have great wrestling. He's got some power in his hands, and he can be an active fighter for 5 rounds at that weight class. You know, I think it's better for him. But I would like to still see him in the tournament, just to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, it would be
more interesting.
Yeah, but you've got him, you've got Yoel, you've got Anthony Johnson, you've got Phil Davis, who's 33, somewhere in there. He's got to be somewhere around that age, and you've got other guys that are, the other guys are getting a little bit, everyone's kind of getting older. I don't know if it's going to be a 6-man or, an 8-man tournament, or if it's going to be more. I would think probably just 8 of them. I know we signed 2 tough rushing guys that were the ACA champions.
ACA and M1.
Yeah, and M1 champions. So those 2 guys as well. So those guys cannot be overlooked. So you got a good mix of guys that are in there. I don't know if Lyoto Machida is going to stay at 205 and be in that tournament as well.
Come on, you have more guys than you have, far more than 8 for that tournament. It would be a 16. Would have to be. It'd have to be.
Yeah, that's a lot. Man.
You got a lot of guys in there, man. I mean, just taking a look at guys like, and these are names that people aren't going to recognize so much, but Carl Albrechtsen.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he'd be good in that. So would Julius Anglinkas.
Oh, there you go.
He would be great in that. Okay, he's only got 1 defeat. There's a lot of guys that you can put into that tournament and go, that guy could be the dark horse in this, and he could do well.
Here's the next thing, though. Do you put those guys in the tournament in the first round? Because you don't know how the tournament's going to play out. Do you put AJ and Romero together right away?
Yes, that's my whole point. If you're going to have that tournament, you put that fight together first, because you can't guarantee that it can happen anywhere else along the way. You can try to set it up and say, all right, I'm not going to do that in the first round. I'm going to put AJ against, fighter A, and I'm going to put Yoel against fighter B, and then we'll have them possibly meet up in the second round. Well, that second round, they might not meet up because one of them loses. So why do you take the chance? If you're going to put the fight on, put the fight on.
You pay these guys enough money to get to the damn second round. That's why. Oh man, sometimes you hate the fight business. Oh geez, but it's one of those. I think it's one of those situations where you're like, damn, I wish I could do it this way. But you always want to manipulate. But that's the one thing that I was saying. That's what I love about Bellator's Grand Prix tournaments, especially the way they did the featherweights. They gave control to the fighters. Yeah,
that is so hard for a promotion to do. And they gave them so much control of where they were going to fight, who they were going to fight, all these different things that a promoter wants to have that control. They gave it away. And I love the fact that they did. And I love what's actually occurred with it. Could it have bit him in the butt? It could have.
Yeah.
Did it? No, it didn't.
Yeah. Next question.
Next question is from Tamar Assad. And he says, Big John, out of all the MMA referees who would have made the best fighter?
Oh my God. Out of all the MMA referees I know, it wouldn't matter what I say. With some of them that are actually good fighters, that people don't know them because they don't do big fights, and they've basically stayed within their state and do a lot of regional things like that. But yeah, if you're going to sit there and just be honest about the people that people know that are refereeing and what they've done, Frank Trigg is your best fighter. Let's just be honest. He accomplished more as a fighter than any other referee. Look at Herb Dean has fought. It wasn't pretty. Just telling you right now. Not that he did bad, but when he fought, he got wins. It was against guys you look and you go, yeah, he should have got that win.
It's not pretty when he refs either, but
Mark Goddard. Mark Goddard is a good fighter. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a really good ground specialist. He's a brawler kind of guy. I think he was 7-6 when he stopped fighting based upon he was just going to go with the route of refereeing. But he's had those fights. There's been guys, a lot of guys have had fights.
Shaolin Ribeiro.
Shaolin Ribeiro is another one. Yeah, he's very good. But is Shaolin better than Frank? No, he didn't accomplish as much.
No, I didn't.
And that's my whole point. If you're going to say the guy that's accomplished the most, I don't think there's really a doubt. Chris Lieben is in that mix as far as he is now refereeing, even though he hasn't done the bigger fights, where at least Frank Trigg has done some of the bigger fights. So I got to give it to Frank.
Yeah, I can't. I would have thrown it's Frank and Shaolin to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that Chris Lieben was he was a referee right now, but he's up in that mix as well. Those three. I think the people that are real, have been refs longer and have tried fighting. I mean, you have fighters that were fighters and they have accomplished quite a bit.
Yeah,
that will be ahead of them. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Next question.
Emil Du asks both: does Adesanya beat Nemkov?
Does Adesanya beat Nemkov? Different weight classes.
Ooh. Well, no, he's saying it because Adesanya is going up to fight Jan at light heavyweight, so I can understand why they're asking it.
So I look at it as depends. Does Nemkov fight a smart fight and get the takedown, or does he try to stand? I mean, does he put as much pressure on himself to get the takedown? There's a lot of things that could play a factor into that.
Sure.
I don't know. I can't answer that. It's just that's the like you have someone who has a sambo wrestling type background we saw against Ryan Bader, is very aggressive off of his back, and which caused Ryan Bader to stand up out of his guard and just back away and let him back up to his feet. Obviously, I'm going to give the edge to Izzy on the feet. Even though Nemkov's got the stand up, but it's not the same level, and you can't say it's the same. But I think he has enough stand up to go ahead and get himself into that clinch and into those takedowns and those foot sweeps and those to get the fight to the ground. I don't know if he can do it for 5 rounds.
It's a good fight.
It's a good fight. It's a very good fight. I would like to. It would
be an interesting fight.
I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I would love to see it. But yeah, it depends. I guess we're going to find out a lot more about Nemkov in terms of if this tournament does happen. We're going to find out a lot more. Is he going to fight, who's he going to fight in the first round? Is it going to be a Corey Anderson? Is he even in the tournament? Is he waiting for the winner? I mean, Bellator's always done their champion in the tournament. So, I mean, I could see it being that way as well.
Oh,
so
if they were going to do a light heavyweight tourney, they'd have to put Nemkov in.
Yeah.
You've done it with every other, Grand Prix that you've had, except for the heavyweights, which didn't have a champion at the time. But you take a look at, the welterweight did with Rory McDonald being the champion at the time, and he ended up losing his title to Douglas Lima. And then you had the featherweights where Pitbull has been there, and now he's one fight away from the final. So it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. I've seen Nemkov since he was in the amateurs.
Yeah.
I reffed him since he was in the amateurs. He's freaking good. Now, if you're going to say, is he as polished a stand-up fighter as Izzy? I can't tell you that he is. No. But he has his advantages in the stand-up over Izzy. And I will tell you, you can go back to certain fights that, I even refereed with Izzy as a kickboxer. There's a style that beats Izzy. Okay. And that's a style that Nemkov brought out against Bader. So he knows that style. He understands what he needs to do. He needs to make his opponent be on his back foot. He needs to have that weight on that back heel. And instead of coming forward, he stops that progression and makes his opponent now go backwards. Nemkov can do that. Nemkov on the ground is a beast. He is good with his submissions, but his positioning and his ground and pound, he's tough. Now, can he get Izzy there? That's the question, because, people can sit there and say what they want. Izzy has not been taken down a lot.
Yeah.
His defensive wrestling against takedowns has been outstanding. And I don't think Nemkov would have any easier a time than a lot of guys. But I will tell you, that sumbitch can wrestle, and he wrestles with great wrestlers in training. That dude is good. We're talking high level when it comes to his wrestling. Way better than anybody that I can think of off the top of my head that I've watched Izzy have to fight. Way better than, and I love Kelvin Gastelum. Their wrestling isn't even close as far as their abilities. If you're going to talk about, I can't think of anybody wrestling wise that, he would be the best wrestler that Izzy ever faced.
Oh, Nemkov would be.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know that he would actually train with the Russian national team for the beta fight, and his wrestling is good, but we know as well as anybody that you may be able to get 1 or 2 takedowns, but it doesn't mean you can get it again in the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. And there's a lot of pressure that gets put on you by good strikers who know how to keep their distance and their range. We see it a lot with Conor McGregor. I mean, up until he got taken down a lot against Chad Mendes, who's shorter, explosive, but he was able to weather the storm and get the job done against Khabib. He made Khabib work for those takedowns. Sure, Khabib was able to get him, but he made him work for them. And I think Izzy can make Nemkov work a lot for those takedowns to the point where maybe not exhaustion, but it loses the pop and the explosiveness to get in and get to the clinch. But how much will the takedowns affect Izzy that's the next thing. If you're not used to being on your back in fights, it's different than being on your back in the gym in practice, because you know that no one's really trying to knock the other person's head off. Sure, you're trying to touch him. Okay. But when you have someone on top of you after losing a takedown, there's a lot more pressure to get up in a real fight, because that person on top wants to destroy you. And so can Izzy handle being on his back against someone who is very good on top with the ground and pound, and someone who's very heavy, and someone who's naturally a 205 pounder and just a big, big guy and dealing with good wrestlers? Can he get back to his feet? And when he does get back to his feet, will he be the same fighter? Will he still be fast? Will he still be accurate? Will he still have some speed and be able to pinpoint his punches? Will he be able to do all those things still? I don't know. I haven't seen him on his back long enough to show me that. But I do know that Kelvin Gastelum, I know he's gotten better since the Kelvin fight, but I do know that Kelvin was able to get him down once or twice. I think he got him down once or twice, I believe. Anyways,
he actually had him down.
Yeah. And that fight, I look at the size difference in them. And that fight, if you put Nemkov in that same situation, I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm saying that it's going to be a fun fight, but I'm saying the two of them bring something together that makes it very interesting to talk about, because Nemkov with the wrestling, Nemkov has the striking enough to get into the wrestling, and he's better than him on the ground. I'm not saying Izzy's not good on the ground. I'm not saying Izzy's not good at takedown defense. Izzy has phenomenal stand-up and has that opportunity, and we saw it with Paulo Costa. He has the opportunity to shut people's games down, okay, to make them not fight the fight that they normally would fight.
Yep.
And so, but going up in weight, that's also what makes it a different fight. So I'm excited. That would be one of those fights I would love to see. I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. The other thing to think about is, Nemkov has a brother who just signed with Bellator.
No, I didn't know that.
Victor Nemkov, who was I
thought he had a different last name. Go ahead.
I think he was the light heavyweight champion at M1 also for a long time, and he can fight. He's good too. He's got a lot more fights than Vadim. He's somewhere closer to 40 fights. So,
all right, one more. We got time for one more.
Okay. Akilan Arunachalam asks, what do you miss most about fighting for Josh and reffing for John?
Go ahead, John.
What do I miss the most? I miss so many things, because this is what I tell people all the time. First off, there's a big difference between being a referee and a fighter as far as money. So you're not doing it for the money. You don't get paid big money, but there are things about it that I call priceless. Being able to walk into an arena, and be it for any promotion, be it for the UFC, for Bellator, for PFL, for KSW, for Ryzen, doesn't matter. You walk into a building, no one stops you. You get to walk down to that cage or that ring, no one stops you. You get to walk into the back, and you get to talk with fighters that you have a ton of respect for, and that you actually have sometimes a relationship with, and you get to shoot the shit with them and their trainers and people that you talk with all the time. And there's a camaraderie that goes with that is priceless. There's no price that you can put on it. Yeah, you're not making a lot of money, monetarily from the promotion to do your job, but you get something out of it that's priceless, and that's what I miss.
What do I miss about fighting? Nothing. I don't miss anything. I own
not one freaking bit of it.
Nope. I own a gym. I can still train daily. I do fitness on one side, I do jiu-jitsu on the other. I can hit mitts and hit the bag if anytime I want. I can go to AK anytime I want and shoot the shit with the fighters there. As far as the promotion, I work for a promotion. I'm cage side now every damn fight. I don't miss a damn thing. I've been there, done that, and I'm not trying to be like, look, I had fun. It was great, but that's not my life anymore. Move on. And I'm thinking about other things now. I'm thinking about, trying to be a better commentator, trying to do a better job at running my gym, trying to just be a better person overall in general. Just, I think one thing I said this year, 2020 taught a lot of people a lot of things. What's important to you is being close to your family, trying to just engulf yourself into what's important to you. The gym's important to me. My job's important to me. The show's important to me, and just being around family as much as possible. Those are the things that are important. I really have learned to minimize my life, this 2020 year, and just get out and about more. That's the other thing. Try to get mountain biking more. Try to get outside more. Try and do things that are important to you. Things that you've always said you wanted to do. I don't miss anything about fighting. Fighting was who I was. It wasn't even who I was, but it's my past life, my past career, and it's time to move on. You can only do that for so long, and now I'm moving on to something else and things that I've always wanted to do. No, I don't miss anything. long answer, but
no, it's not. It's a truthful answer, and it's a good answer. The one thing I will tell you this, and you're not old yet, but you're getting there. Goddamn it. As you get older, hey, you start to realize what's important in life. And once you've done something, you can say, hey, I've done it. It's okay. And time is the most valuable thing anybody has. I'm just telling you guys, man. So your time is valuable and you can't get it back when you waste it. So, if you do something, you're good at it, continue on until it's no longer worth your time. And I think that's what Josh is talking about. It was no longer worth his time.
Agree. Okay, go to mybookie.com or mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in, and they will give you another 50% on your initial first deposit. So up to $1,000, they will give you another $500. $100, they'll give you $50. So it's only good for your very first initial deposit. That will give you 50% of your initial deposit. Promo code is weighing in at mybookie.ag. Also go to prowrestling.com/weighing in. There is no promo code right now going on. And so check out all of our new shirts that are there.
What's up with that, Dave? Where's our promo code?
Well, they have one going on right now that's the code is New Year and it gets 20% off. I think it's only got a few more days on it. And so we'll figure something out for our next show to have something ready for you guys.
Okay. So if you guys go to their website, you guys can just type in your own promo code, which is New Year, and they'll give you 20% off there. All right. So check those out. And we want to thank you guys so much for subscribing to our podcast. Please subscribe on the YouTube and all of the audio platforms as well. You guys can listen to us in your car as much as you possibly can when the kids are not around, because I drop F-bombs quite a bit. So enjoy our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all those places. Stitcher, and YouTube. So hit the thumbs up as well. And if you guys liked our Q&A, please get us to 5,000 likes, at least 5,000 likes on this, so we can continue to do these Q&As as much as possible. Hit that thumbs up and the subscribe button and share our videos to everyone else. John, you got anything?
No, that sounds perfect to me. Thank you for everything that happened in 2020, even the good, the bad, the ugly. It's okay. This podcast has grown from that, and we are very appreciative. Thank you for all of it, and we will see you